General Counsel, is there a quorum?
Madam Chair, you do have a quorum.
Excellent. Good morning. I'm Ann Valentine. I'm calling to order the September 2022 meeting of the IHCDA Board of Directors. We're going to do this old school since we're all in person. I'll take a roll call of the members to confirm those who are present. Ann Valentine, designee for Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch, here. Mark Pascarella, designee for State Public Finance Director Dan Hubie.
Here.
Ryan Locke, designee for Treasurer of State Kelly Mitchell.
Here.
Board Member J. June Midkiff. Here. Andy Place Senior.
Is out today.
Thank you. Board Member G. Michael Schaffmeyer.
Here.
Board Member Tom McGowan is out today as well.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the August 25th, 2022 board meeting. Any questions regarding the minutes? May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Please welcome Alan Rakowski, who will present the monthly Tcap update.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Alan Rakowski, Director of Real Estate Allocation. First item is the Tcap monthly update. So as stated in previous meetings, the delegated authority was granted to IHCDA in September of 2021 and extended in March. And this is to award Tcap to tax credit projects that have negatively impacted by cost increases. So the update this month is we did make 5 awards since the last board meeting. Those projects are Evansville Townhomes 3 in Evansville, developed by Advantage Development Corporation. Historic Gallatin Square in Marion, developed by McKinley Development LLC. Wood Cooper 4%, which is a scattered site deal developed by Wood Cooper Development. Broadway Loss in Gary, developed by MVAH Development LLC. And Bellevue of New Albany. This one is being developed by Southern Indiana Housing Corporation. This brings the total number of approvals to 24 since the policy was approved last September, totaling $9,460,411. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right, seeing no questions, and this is an update and not a resolution. Now, Alan's going to present the Tcap policy and delegated authority extension.
Yes, so as mentioned in the last memo, this policy was originally approved on September 23rd, 2021. The board approved $20 million of Tcap to use for gap financing for tax credit deals that were impacted by cost increases and gave delegated authority to the Deputy Executive Director and Chief Real Estate Development Officer to take all action necessary to do this. The Tcap policy was set to expire on March 31st. We came to the board in March and had it extend for another 6 months. Currently, the policy is set to expire on September 30th, so just in over a week. Today, we are recommending that the board approve an extension of the Tcap policy and delegated authority through March 31st, 2023. Provided that the board is informed of all awards made monthly, staff is not recommending any changes to the policy. The Tcap policy is also included as attached as Exhibit A. And we'll stop here and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Alan?
And I just have one update as far as, do we see the pace slowing down? I know the inflation's not, but have the new deals started to take over where they've already built in the increased cost? Or is this going to be something you think we're going to see?
You know, the newer deals, especially the bond deals, they've had more of a chance to take these into account. You know, we did extend this policy in March to include 2022 deals. So we haven't seen as many 2022 deals come in. I would say the pace probably will continue for those 2021 deals that haven't closed. And there's about 20 that could still apply, I determined, looking at our pipeline. The 2022 deals are probably about 15, but again, those ones we don't know if they're going to need it. We think those newer deals probably won't need it as much as some of the older ones, but I think the pace will probably continue at this rate, at least for the next 5 or 6 months, and then we'll reevaluate after that.
Yeah, I would anticipate that for 2021s because they didn't have it probably built in its time. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Alan, I think we're ready for the resolution.
Okay, I have 2 resolutions. Should I just read them together or stop?
Separate, please.
Staff respectfully requests that the board pass the following resolutions. Resolved that the board approve extending the Tcap policy to the earlier of March 31st, 2023 or two at such time that all funds have been allocated as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We'll take your resolution number 2.
Resolved that the board authorizes IHCDA's Deputy Executive Director and Chief Real Estate Development Officer to take all actions necessary to distribute additional allocations of Tcap to LIHTC projects negatively impacted by cost increases in accordance with the policy as extended, provided that the board is informed of all awards made monthly as recommended by staff.
All right, we have a resolution. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. More with Alan.
Yes, so now I move to the bond portion of the agenda. This is the first of 3 that I'll be presenting. The first one is Village Premier Apartments. Village Premier Apartments is a 17 application of decision reviewed as part of the 2022 bond round. It'll have a total development cost of $43.3 million, with $25 million in bond volume and $2,114,048 in tax credits. This project will be creating 200 units of affordable housing. The developer's House Investments LLC, they're proposing this new construction family development in the southeast quadrant of Fort Wayne. It'll have 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, and will serve households at 50% and 60% AMI levels. This proposed 11 building development is surrounded by a neighborhood that features commercial, retail, and residential uses. All residential units will have access to amenities. Those include an exercise room, community room, and green space. Units will be equipped with porch patio, built-in dishwasher, garbage disposal, and wiring for high-speed internet. Also, the project is part of a master development plan that includes for sale homes and also commercial space close by. During the round of staff, I reviewed the application to ensure it met the criteria of the 2022 QIP. And on key performance indicators, what I'll mention there is that we now have reviewed all 20 applications that come in during the 2022 bond round. Of those 20, 14 either been approved or are being recommended today. And of those 14 total, 57% are new construction and 43% are rehab. Looking back at last year, 42% were new construction and 58% were rehab. So we're seeing an increase in new construction this year. Also, in our 2022 projects, 79% are family, 21% are senior. That's a slight increase last year with 74% family and 26% age restricted. So what we've seen this year is a rise in family designated new construction deals, and I think this is important. With Village Premier being an example of one of these, important to consider as we look at the bond program and evaluate what we should do with regards to preferences and priorities once we're able to reopen around. So at this point, I'll pause and be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right. I think, Alan, we're ready for your resolution.
Staff respectfully requests that the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that the board approve awarding $25 million in bond value and $2,114,008 in annual LIHTC to Village Premier 1 LP for Village Premier Apartments according to the terms of the 2022 AB application round as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Next, Alan.
Next is Tower Multifamily Portfolio. This is the 14 application received and reviewed in the 2022 bond round. Tower, which is called Tower Multifamily Portfolio, will have a total development cost of $19.8 million, asking for $10,900,000 in bond value and $688,065 in tax credits. It'll be rehabbing 200 total units of affordable housing. They're also requesting a $750,000 development fund loan and a $500,000 home loan. Liberty Somerset Developer LLC, which is an affiliate of Access Housing Group LLC, is proposing this 200-unit scattered site rehab. These projects are in Petersburg, Princeton, and Mount Vernon. So there are three existing properties: Somerset East 1 and 2, which is in Princeton; Liberty Apartments, which is in Petersburg; and Southland Apartments, which is in Mount Vernon. The rehab will completely renew building systems, including new HVAC, electrical upgrades, appliances, flooring, roofing, siding, and ADA accommodations. The staff reviewed the application under 2022 QAP to ensure it met the criteria. And the recommendation that we have for this project is the 10.9 million bond volume, the tax credits, 750,000 development fund, and also the home. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, Alan, I think we're ready for the resolution.
Staff respectfully requests that the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding $10,900,000 in bond volume, $688,065 in annual LIHTC, $750,000 in development fund, and $500,000 in home to Indiana Applicant LLC for Tower Multifamily Portfolio according to the terms of the 2022 AB application round as recommended by staff.
All right, we have a resolution. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
The third and final one that I have is Tower Senior Portfolio. This is the 15th application received in the 2022 bond round. Slightly smaller than the previous one as far as the cost. 9.7 million development cost, 5,360,000 in bond value, and 342,688 in tax credits. This will be rehabbing 112 total units of affordable housing. This is senior housing. The applicant is also requesting 750,000 in development fund and the $500,000 home loan. So Brooklyn Milsomer Developer LC, which is an affiliate of Access Housing Group, which is doing the multifamily deal I just discussed, is doing the senior component as well. There are 112 units of scattered site senior units. These are in Petersburg, Upstat, Owensville, and Princeton. So these are 4 current residential properties. 3 of them have 25 units, Brookfield Apartments, Linwood Village, and Somerset, and Williams Apartments has 37 units. They will go under a similar rehab as the previous deal, renovation that would renew the building systems, unit amenities, such as kitchens and bathrooms being updated, and also landscaping. And this project also was reviewed under the 2022 QAP, and staff determined that met the criteria. So I will stop there. Be happy to entertain any questions.
Why do they use the name Tower on both of these?
It's a good question. I looked into the current owner is a company called Tower Construction out of Princeton. So I think it has a, I guess, recognition through that previous owner.
Hearing no other questions, I think we're ready for your resolution.
The staff respectfully request the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding $5,360,000 in bond volume, $342,688 in annual LIHTC, $750,000 in development fund, and $500,000 in home to Brooklyn Milsomer Senior LLC for Tower Senior Portfolio according to the terms of the 2022 AB application round as recommended by staff.
All right, we have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Next, we have, please welcome Hayden Weisinger, who will present the bond volume 4% tax credits for the mill.
Good morning, board. Hayden Weisinger. I'm a tax credit analyst with IHCDA, and today I have 2 bond deals ready for you. The first one being the mill, which was the 12th application received and reviewed with a development cost of $35,195,124 with a $22 million bond volume and $1,689,717 in annual LIHTC. The project is to create 168 units of new affordable housing. The applicant is also requesting $750,000 development. BH Affordable LLC is proposing this 168 new unit construction development in Shelbyville. It'll be comprised of studio 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units that will serve households in a variety of income levels from 40, 50, 60, and 80% AMI, which is fairly unique from what we've seen among most of our bond deals. It is also the intent of the development to tie into the newly renovated Stony Brook Trail that is directly north of the site, as well as the $20 million downtown renovation that has happened in downtown Shelbyville that was completed last December. The development will feature 2 residential buildings that will be connected by interior corridors. And the project is also including the repurposing of a 1930s Coca-Cola building that they will be rehabbing to be used as commercial space as well as some amenity space for residents, with the initial plan for the commercial space to be used for preferably a restaurant. And with that, I will leave it to any questions.
All right, seeing no questions, we're ready for your resolution.
Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding 22 million in bond volume, $1,689,717 in annual LIHTC, and $750,000 in development fund to VH Pool LP for the mill according to the terms of the 2022 AV application round as recommended by staff.
All right, we have a resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Hayden, now you're presenting bond volume 4% tax credits for the City Heights apartment homes.
Yes, City Heights is the 20th application received and reviewed, representing a total development cost of $67,729,975 with a 33 million in bond volume and $3,196,024 in annual LIHTC to create 200 affordable units. Headcore Development Associates LLC is proposing this 200-unit new construction multi-family development on the south side of Indianapolis. The development will be comprised of 2 to 3-story residential buildings spanning 2 lots across 18.3 total acres. City Heights will provide a furnished clubhouse with an exercise room, computer center, gathering space. Development will be less than a half mile from an Indigo bus stop, providing quick access to numerous services, including retail and healthcare. I open it to any questions.
Just one, as you look at these responses that come in, weight is given to the cost per unit for these new developments, because I'm seeing the rehab prices, they're lower, and then the newer projects are obviously more expensive to get them built up. I'm just wondering what that analysis looks like based on just the residents, the MI that you're looking to fill.
Yeah, we definitely see the kind of bigger portion of it being how many total units, if it is an overall extensive rehab, the overall level of rehab that will happen kind of affects seeing either some of those when it comes to rehab, higher cost per unit to lower cost per unit. And then a lot of it can be land and where specifically it is. I know with this one in particular, because we had a follow-up on the overall project cost and cost per unit associated with this project specifically. And most of this one was a lot of site work that had to be done. The site that they're doing there's nothing there, but there's a lot of trees and all that will have to be taken down. So some of those are the things that go into all that.
Okay. And I just asked because this one, of all presented today, just simple math, project cost to units is 338,000 versus the next closest was 200,000 per unit. I'm just wondering analysis wise, what that looks like. I would assume we're seeing trends that it's becoming more expensive, which is why we did the first thing that we talked about. But just interested in how that weighs into approvals and projects moving forward at your level.
Yeah, I know when, it's like, especially with the 9% round, when we get those applications, if we see development costs that are over 300,000 per unit, we have it to follow as a clarification item we have just to see exactly what it is. It kind of can range, but a lot of the times they'll just state it's increased cost for materials like that and like, so that's kind of what we see. But we do, whenever we see them, especially on new construction over 300, we follow up to do our due diligence and get a response from them.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna follow, I assume need comes into play as well. I mean, sometimes you don't get the choice. a location, because if there's
Yeah.
a need there, then you have to build, and there's not an existing facility, you can't rehab. So therefore, it has to be new construction.
Yeah.
So I assume there's that type of analysis going on too, to make sure we're allocating appropriately.
The other thing I was going to mention, Alan, Matt, chime in, we primarily look at it by square footage. Because sometimes you have larger commercial space or common space that will inflate the number per units cost. We also have to take into consideration the building design and how much of that is commercial or common space. And I think you guys track every deal every year and looking at that square footage rate.
We do, yeah. So we have historical data going back from all of our rounds. We use it for comparison. Right now, based on the historical data and looking at kind of current costs we're seeing, given rises in labor and construction costs. To Aiden's point, kind of our question point is anything going over 300,000 per unit right now. We do question, maybe the developer provide a written narrative as to why those costs are getting high. To Jake's point, some of the things we see on the new construction side that will affect it. In this case, as Hayden said, this is a very undeveloped site, so there's infrastructure build out, tree clearance, et cetera. And then other things that come into effect on a new construction bill is when there are multiple buildings, obviously that's multiple roofs, multiple pieces instead of a one building type development. And then when there is larger either amenity space or services for tenants or a commercial component, that's usually adding some cost as well. Now, some of those costs are things that we actually don't end up funding through the bonds and the tax credits. There are limitations, really, we're funding the residential portion, but when we look at it as a total development cost, those things come into play as well.
Thank you.
Great discussion. Okay, I think we're ready for your resolution.
Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding $33 million in bond volume and $3,196,024 in annual LIHTC to Petport Investments 2021 CLXXXB LP for City Heights apartment homes according to the terms of the 2022 AB application round as recommended by staff.
Okay, we have a resolution before us. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Thank you, Hayden. Please welcome Peter Nelson, who will present the monthly update for the National Housing Trust Fund Policy and Delegated Authority.
Good morning, board. I am here today to just give an update on the Housing Trust Fund gap policy. Since the last board meeting, we have approved one gap financing through this policy. We are awarding, or have awarded, $136,846 to South Bend Heritage Foundation for Hope Avenue Homes in South Bend. This brings our total number of projects funded through this gap policy to 5, totaling just over $2 million. Since this is just an update, I have no resolution, but I am happy to answer any questions on this policy.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, I think we move on to your next item, which is the National HTF and Development Fund gap policies and delegated authority extensions.
Yes, thank you. So similar to the presentation Alan made extending the Tcap policy, we are asking for an extension to our other two gap policy sources. So the Housing Trust Fund policy and Development Fund policies the drafts were initially created last October and approved by this board at the November meeting. Ran on a very similar timeline to the Tcap. So it ran until March, where it was extended until this month. So it is set to expire September 30th. So we are asking to extend it to March 31st. The Housing Trust Fund source is used for other projects that have received allocations of Housing Trust Fund. And our Development Fund source is for home projects that need some additional funding. All, of course, similar need to show a gap because of cost increases they have experienced. So really with this, we aren't asking for any update to the policy other than just to extend the date to expire in March of next year, March 31st of next year. and are going to ask again for that delegated authority for these two policies. Happy to take any questions at this time. I will note that Exhibit A and B in your packet do show the policies for each of these programs.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, I'll take your first resolution.
Yes, staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolutions. Resolve that the board approve extending both the Housing Trust Fund and Development Fund gap funding policies to the earlier of March 31, 2023, or such time that all funds have been allocated as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution before us. I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We'll take your next resolution.
Resolved that the board authorize IHCDA's Deputy Executive Director and Chief Real Estate Development Officer to take all actions necessary to distribute additional allocations of Housing Trust Fund and Development Fund to existing projects negatively impacted by cost increases in accordance with the policies as extended, provided that the board is informed of all awards made monthly as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. One more with
One
Peter.
more.
The County of Marshall Stellar Owner Occupied Rehabilitation Program.
Yes, this one is exciting. We don't do a lot of owner-occupied rehabilitation anymore. But so just a little background on Stellar. It is a program launched in 2011 that was kind of a multi-agency partnership. So I believe the community or the Office of Community and Rural Affairs was kind of a lead designee with that program. So communities would apply, submit a Stellar plan that, identified different areas of their community that needed some work that they wanted to improve in their community. And kind of IHCDA's role historically in that would be any project, any plan that was submitted for these communities that were awarded as the Stellar designee. IHCDA, if they had a housing component in their plan, would set aside some funding for that housing. So this owner-occupied repair comes out of our 2019 allocation of CDBG, and it is going to be recommended to the County of Marshall. So the Marshall County Crossroads community, many different communities within Marshall County, was designated as the Stellar region in 2019. So I believe they were designated in December of 2019. So, obviously with the impacts of COVID happening right after they were designated this community, you can kind of see why we're just now getting to this recommendation a couple of years later. So we are recommending $500,000 of our community development block grant or CDBG funding to the Stellar region for the use of this owner-occupied repair. We will be tracking some key performance indicators with these fundings. So this is intended to fund and repair 16 owner-occupied households. So that's one of the things that we're going to track to make sure that all 16 that these funding sources use are being able to track and fund and help 16 individual homes. And then we also want to track the number of assisted households that will contain a targeted population. So individuals with disabilities, families with children, people who are, allowing people to age in place, and then of course veterans, single parent households, et cetera. So we will kind of track that along as well when we get kind of the beneficiaries report with these funds. So yeah, Marshall County is planning to assist 16 homeowners with these funds. And then, once they get all the applications in, they'll kind of prioritize which ones should be funded based on, health and safety concerns, what needs to be addressed most with the home, health and safety concerns, structural stabilization, and then things like allowing residents to age in place, improvements to be made in that area. So you can kind of see on kind of the page 2, I guess, of this, just kind of the breakdown of who is getting the funding and where. This is going into 10 different townships. The intent is to serve 10 different townships within 6 communities of Marshall County, so you'll see Argos, Bremen, Culver, La Paz, and Plymouth, all within Marshall County. So we are recommending $500,000 of funding. Happy to take any questions.
Seeing no questions, we'll take your resolution.
Great. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that the board approve the allocation of CDBG funding in an amount not to exceed $500,000 to the County of Marshall for the Marshall County Housing Rehabilitation Project as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution before us. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Peter. Please welcome Samantha Spurkle, who will present the Homebuyer Award recommendation for Brown County Habitat for Humanity.
Good morning. My name is Samantha Spurkle. I'm the Director of Real Estate Strategic Initiatives at IHCDA. Here again to present the Brown County Indiana Habitat for Humanity request for home funding. This request is for $69,853 for the construction of one unit in Nashville, Indiana. The unit will be 3-bedroom. They do have their home buyer identified. I want to note that this is a new partner for us to work with in real estate, so we're excited to continue this relationship with them. I also want to note that this is the last of our 2021 funding for Homebuyer. This particular fiscal year, we funded 20 units. In the previous 3 years, we funded a total of 16. So we've seen a definite uptick in interest, which is very exciting for us. And I also have 13 more units already under review. So I hope we bring those to the board in the fourth quarter this year. So with that, I will pause to see if there are any questions.
All right, seeing none, we're ready for your resolution.
Great, thank you. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolutions. Resolve that the board approve awarding home funding in the form of a grant in an amount not to exceed $69,853,000 to Brown County, Indiana Habitat for Humanity Incorporated as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Samantha. All right, please welcome Jeff. I'm going to let you say your last name, who will present the Housing Choice Voucher Annual Plan and Administrative Plan Submission. How do we say your last name?
It's not always.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff C works.
Okay.
That's usually what Lieutenant Governor goes with. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so there's 2 parts of my board memo today. First, I actually want to use this opportunity to update the board on our program of last year. Usually we provide each September, we provide an update to the board. And then I'll take questions on that and then move on to the resolution and with some background on that. So to provide an update on the program, Exhibit E of the board memo provides some metrics on the program here today. I want to highlight one main thing on the metrics. Our annual voucher rental subsidy is currently $497. That is up $30 compared to this time last year. So we're definitely being affected by just the overall rent increases around the state. And while that is up $30, our tenant rent, paid rent is actually not up at all. So we're seeing tenants contributing. Our tenant rent is also up about the same amount. So we're seeing tenants, they're having income increases of roughly at the same amount as those rent increases, which is unfortunate that they're not able to put that towards other expenses, but at least they're not being increasingly rent burdened, and we're able to provide additional rental subsidy to provide for that additional rent. Additionally, we are also, just I want to highlight a few things that have been kind of things we've been working on over the last year since I last gave an update to the board. Every once in a while, I bring project-based voucher award to the board for approval. So I want to update you on some of the projects that have opened over the last year. We opened a project in South Bend called Haven Homes with South Bend Heritage, which is housing 18 formerly homeless individuals, as well as one in Westfield called Haven Homes. That one has integrated projects with 8 units outside from supportive housing and is fully leased now, as well as a project in Plymouth, Indiana, which has, I believe it's 8 units, it's 8 or 10. And then additionally, one project that has been taking up a lot of my stress time over last year is Safe Haven in Lake County. And that project is 75 units, exclusively VASH So we are, it opened last November, and by the end of December, we had housed 75 formerly chronically homeless veterans. So that was a big endeavor for my team, along with our partners up in Lake County. One secondary benefit of that is through that we partnered with Jesse Brown VA, the VA of Chicago. And that was the first time we had really partnered with them in our voucher program. And now we recently put in an application for additional vouchers with them, and hopefully we'll get an award and be able to serve an additional 15 veterans in Northwest Indiana, which is the area of Indiana Jesse Brown VA serves. Additionally, we recently reserved an additional 50 vouchers for the non-elderly disabled program. Those will be effective October 1st, so we'll have some additional vouchers to serve that population within Indiana, and we're excited about that. Those are my main updates on the program, so I'll take any questions before I move on to the resolution.
One of the things you forgot to mention, I think, aren't we rated a high performing agency when it comes, I mean, I know you don't have to kind of, I'm gonna do it for you, so you might as well just talk about that.
Yeah, we are rated a high performing agency. We have been for as long as I've been at IHCDA, almost 5 years, and as far as I know, going back before that. So annually, we submit to HUD our Section 8 management assessment, Section 8 management assessment program for a rating, and we've been rated high performing the last several years. And that is based on 14 different categories, including compliance, fund utilization, inspection quality, et cetera.
I'll chime in there real quick. I know patting yourself on the back is not always what people like to do. But on the other hand, it is good to hear that from our standpoint, because obviously the federal government and funding can sometimes go hand in hand depending on how your performance is. So to hear that, I think that, at least I'll speak for myself, I'm sure for the board as well. We love hearing that, and congratulations to you and your team for doing that. And it's really important that we get designated high performance, just like it's important that we get, whenever we get money, we get it all out the door and spend it. So I think IHCDA does a great job. So I think that that's well worth mentioning. Congratulations to you and your team for that.
Yeah, and it is a minimum criteria for many of the new vouchers that we receive. So we're only able to get some additional mainstream vouchers and hopefully additional cash vouchers due to our high performing designation.
And if I can jump in for a second, I know Jeff doesn't like to pat himself on the back. I didn't know that.
So we're gonna keep doing it.
You might as well mention next time.
There's an association in Indiana that is all new public housing agencies. There's about 60 public housing authorities across the state. And there's an organization that tries to help those housing authorities. Many of them are not high performing, so they need technical assistance and improvements. Just recently, that association asked Jeff to join their board, as it's a volunteer board. So he's now engaged with that association and helping provide technical assistance to the other public housing authorities throughout the state as well, and just helping them plan a lot of trainings and a public housing authority conference for 2023 to expand capacity. So Jeff's doing a great job with this program.
Great.
Can we clap now?
That's terrific. It really is.
All right, so if there's no other questions, I'll move on to the resolution portion.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the resolution is for our annual plan and annual administrative plan to be updated. These will be effective January 1st of next year. The annual plan is actually kind of a misleading title. It's really more of an update on our 5-year annual plan, where this will be year 4 of that 5-year plan. And then I wanted to point out a few of the changes that we are making to the administrative plan this year, which is on Exhibit A. One of the changes I'm excited about is we are moving to align it more closely with some of our other IHCDA programs. So you may be familiar with the IHCDA State Funded Housing First program. We are adding language to the plan to allow individuals from that program to be referred directly into our HCD program at the end of their assistance term for through the Housing First program. That program is time limited to 2 years, and we saw a need for folks who, well, they have been stabilized in their housing, perhaps they're on a fixed income, or they're disabled and can't work, or elderly, and they still need some ongoing rental assistance at the end of those 2 years to remain stably housed, even though they might not need the support services that initially came with that program. So to align those programs, we're allowing those individuals to be referred directly onto our voucher program, up to 50 a year. And then additionally, other updates on the program, through COVID, there were some HUD waivers that were allowed to allow for remote inspections or remote briefings of participants. So we are making those permanent through our administrative plan. Those had not previously been entered into our administrative plan since they were operating on a waiver basis. But HUD is now allowing us to make those permanent, so we're doing that as we've seen a lot of increased efficiencies in our program through that on the administrative side. Additionally, we are updating some policies on our mainstream waitlist. So that's the program that I mentioned. We got 50 additional vouchers for to serve non-elderly disabled individuals in households around the state. Previously, that application has been open to the public for participants. We had a lot of issues with that of folks who were applying who didn't actually meet the definition, create a lot of administrative work. So we will be looking to partner with area agencies on aging and centers for independent living to directly refer the individuals they are serving into the program, since we know those individuals will most likely be eligible. And also they can assist those individuals through the application process and then also housing search. That is something that we have done through the emergency housing voucher program, which started last year with coordinated entry. And we've seen positive results from using those referral partners and having advocates for the participants to walk them through the application process and then also the housing search process. Additionally, we are making some changes to reduce participant burden on the program. So where we had verification requirements that were higher than what HUD absolutely required, we've reduced those verification requirements to match the HUD requirement, especially as we've increased doing things remotely. It's just easier to put a little less burden on the participant. We still verify all income through federal system that we can pull records and see any reported income and catch any unreported income that way. So we felt that we could reduce those burdens while still being confident that things were accurately being reported. And then additionally, the final thing change we made to align with other IHCDA initiative was previously we have restricted project-based voucher selection, award selection to projects that previously participated in the Indiana Department of Supportive Housing Institute. We have added projects that participated in the Indiana Home Innovative Round to that criteria. So now we can select PPV awards for either projects that came through the Indiana Department of Supportive Housing Institute or through our Home Innovative Round. So before I move on to the resolution, I can take any questions.
All right, seeing none, we'll take your resolution.
Staff respectfully request the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve the HCD 2023 annual plan and 2023 administrative plan as recommended.
You have a resolution, I will entertain a motion.
Moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Jesse. Please welcome Greg Glassley, who will present the Weatherization Assistance Program BIL State Plan.
Good morning, board. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Greg Glassley, the Director of Energy and Utility Programs at IHCDA. So really excited. So in March, Department of Energy released some funding allocations and guidelines with the bipartisan infrastructure law bill, or IHCDA, whichever people know it by. But through that, and that's additional funding on top of regular DOE program year money. Indiana was allocated $90 million, a little over $90,475,000 through the Weatherization Assistance Program. So it's a large influx of money. Certainly, we regular program year from DOE is about $8.5 million. So we're excited about the opportunities that this gives IHCDA and our partner agencies. So the way it works, we submitted our initial budget on April 28th. With that, we received 15% of that funding. The deadline to submit our application state plan is October 1st. And once that is approved by DOE, we'll receive 35% of the allocation. And then once we weatherize 30% of our estimated units, we'll receive the remainder 50% of that application. So that's kind of how funding works. We released our budget, we submitted our budget on April 28th. We've had a lot of conversations with our sub-grantee network, just to kind of gauge capacity, see where they're at, how they're doing. A lot of conversations with our training center that's local, which is great. They can train a lot of new and existing workers for that. And then we've got a new policy advisory council that includes more people from the community that can kind of help us with this as well. So we really tried to incorporate a lot of of stakeholders in this so that we can plan. We know that spending this money, we're gonna have to do some things differently. And so that's why we've kind of requested the input of several of the stakeholders. And we've got some great feedback through that. So because regular DOE program year and these, they're both through DOE, the regulations and what's allowed is the same in most of them. So there are a few differences. We just wanted to outline what those differences would be. First one is set aside 10% of that funding for multifamily. That would be anything, technically larger than 5 units. But the reason we want to set that aside and make it available for competitive bidding is historically Indiana doesn't have a great track record with multifamily. So every multifamily project has to be approved by DOE. And so kind of taking that 10% aside will allow IHCDA to properly manage that. We will allow sub-grantees and non-existing sub-grantees to be part of that bidding process to make sure that everybody who is interested has the ability to apply for that. We plan on weatherizing 30% of those units in year 4 of this grant. And we think that we need to ramp up to get capacity. Doing that in year 4 will give us that additional 50% of the funding, which is very important to making sure that we spend all 90 million of it. The third and fourth points on that, increasing health and safety from 20 to 25%, and then increasing the ACPU for each unit. What that basically will allow is it allows for the dollar to stretch a little bit. So more measures can be done to every home. So knowing that there are increased costs, increased labor, if we can increase that health and safety dollar amount, that means more can be done on the weatherization side. The second thing is that the training and technical assistance plan, the TNTA, said we know where our existing network is from a capacity standpoint, and we want to use these additional TNTA dollars to make sure that we are hiring state employees who can support that capacity building with the network. And then we can also utilize that TNTA funding to help some of the agencies that maybe aren't performing quite where we need them to be. So we have more dollars that we want to make sure that we are giving to those agencies that need that. Part of this is, at some point the bill funding will run out, and we want to make sure that at the end of that time that our existing network is in a much better place at that point than they are today, with being able to do multifamily shelter, more units, just have a greater capacity at the end of it. So we'll be able to use those TNTA dollars for some of that capacity building as well. And then there'll be some workforce development that we'll be able to use through that, which we're really excited about. The third kind of piece that's a little bit different is the state corrective action and removal procedures. Every agency, we'll make sure every agency has dollars to spend on every county in the state. We're not going to take money away. We do want to make sure that all $90,475,000 is spent. So we may have to reallocate some of that money from those agencies that aren't maybe performing as well and those that are performing very well. But to be clear, every agency will have the money and the capability to serve their counties. But we want to make sure that every is able to be served. So with that, we recommend the adoption of these plans kind of laid out herein that we think will best allow us to equitably and efficiently expend all of these dollars.
Question.
Yeah, please.
Can you give me a sense of scope for what is our traditional allocation in this area? And then adding on this 90 million that's over 5 years.
Sure. So a normal program year would be about 8.5 million from Department of Energy. There's a carve out from LIHEAP that goes towards as well. So just strictly from the Department of Energy funding, it's about $8.5 million. Last year we weatherized 575 homes with DOE money. So 90 million, if you broke that into 5 years, would be 18 million and change. Our plan is to extend that to a 10-year program. So again, we want to weatherize 30% of those units. The total estimate is about 5,900 units that we expect to weatherize. But we've had a lot of discussions with our existing network, a lot of discussions with our energy program officers to make sure that we are understanding kind of what's allowed and where those guidelines are. So we're comfortable with, as long as we can weatherize the estimated number of units and within that 5 year, then they will obligate the remainder to us.
Gotcha.
For that standpoint. And we're confident that our plan as we estimated out was to hit that in early year 4. of that.
This may, I'm not sure if this is a great question, but do we have a sense of what's the need out there? Like if we're doing 500 and some units annually, if we could do everyone, what would that be or how? I mean, I know some will,
Yeah.
there will always be more that need it.
Yes.
But are we do we have a sense of what the scope is of the need?
It's a great question, first of all. So part of the challenge is, so what weatherization is and is not. And so weatherization is, of course, you're going in and it's, very high level, but it's air sealing, it's insulation, it's energy, making a home more energy efficient. It is not a repair program.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened, we can't replace roofs, we can't, fix foundational issues, mold issues. That presents a large challenge because
There's probably a lot of homes or units that would need those things.
A tremendous amount of homes that are income eligible, but it's not in a place that can be weatherized. The point being, if there's mold issues, if there are air issues within the house,
Okay.
and the agencies go in and seal the house, we've unfortunately made it way worse from a health standpoint. And so part of that health and safety, increasing that, we hope will allow us to do more of those measures.
Okay.
That will, maybe we can do a few more homes because we have more money to spend in that area. And then as an aside, we're always looking at how we can braid funds and blend them with, DOE's rules are fairly restrictive. And so that's why with regular program year, we generally use LIHEAP funds, which make things a little easier to do some of that work.
Okay.
And so part of the carve out for the multifamily, we're very good as a network at doing single family. And so that multifamily, carving that out will allow us to hit a lot of those, a lot of multifamily, a lot of shelters that would fall into that. And I'm gonna pat Jeff on the back again, but he's part of our council advisory, and we've got a list of shelters. So we have, part of that is residential, but single family is all right, but there's a lot more. I think we can stretch ourselves and really do a lot more different types, which we're excited about with the money.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Couple questions, Greg. Talk about the network. I'm just curious, do you know, or can you get back with me later? What's our network in Southwest Indiana?
As in, how are they doing, or
Who are they? Who they are?
how far south? I mean,
Evansville,
yeah,
from Princeton, Petersburg, really pretty much Vincent's, yes, we're on.
yeah. I mean, they're,
Tiblaboo.
yeah, and I mean, I can get with you after this if you'd like. There's some specifics. They just had some stuff going on, but they're in the right direction.
Okay.
Certainly.
And then, obviously I read all 45 pages of these pass-through DOE regs that we're passing on. Read every one of them as an attorney.
Fantastic.
No, I didn't. I'm trusting you. I'm trusting staff. I mean, that is, I like you put rough draft. I'm gonna get one of those stamps.
Just draft.
So our sub-grantees, there's a lot of conversation. I assume we make them sign something that, because we can't police all $90 million of this perfectly. And if someone abuses our, and the Fed's generosity here, at some point there can be clawbacks, as we call it in the government world. We're doing that, correct?
Absolutely. And that more so, we have monitors that will monitor anywhere between, this is existing, and because this follows mainly the same Department of Energy, will continue. The number of homes that we monitor will increase just based on the number, but currently anywhere between 5 and 10% of every home that is weatherized gets is monitored by the state, basically, from a kind of a technical standpoint and a financial standpoint.
That's not exactly my question. Are we papering up that those contractors, sub-grant,
Sub-grant,
are they signing something that says we will buy?
Yes.
Yeah, we need something signed by them that they'll abide, because we can't, be perfect, and we need, if someone does take advantage of all this money, we need to have the ability, right, to call back against them. So
Yeah.
I'm just asking the question. So you said yes in the record.
Absolutely. And I mean.
That's all I need.
Yeah, and we have that already because these are, sub-grantees that do it. So, yeah, we are,
But I'm assuming there's some new standards with this new money.
there's some, but because, like I said, because it's Department of Energy, a lot of those regulations are the same. So it's not like, okay, you guys have one set of rules here and then this set of rules here. With the multifamily, there's Davis-Bacon wages, so that is different in this bill funding, which is why we think it's appropriate for IHCDA to manage that, because there's way more, there's higher, maybe higher wages, but there's also reporting, extensive reporting that's involved with that, which is part of the reason.
There isn't that much difference between prevailing wage that our governmental units have to deal with anyway. So some, but it wasn't that much. So thank you for answering
Yeah.
questions.
And I'm happy to get with you about that as well.
Yeah, just shoot me some of the, from our region.
Sure.
So curious question. House needs insulation but has roof issues. Do you guys just don't provide the weatherization? What do you do when they have both?
Well, so there's a couple of things. So let me try to keep it straight. So right here, because part of it's bill money. So this regular program year, DOE money, the first time it came out, they had something called readiness funds, which those funds by DOE are allowed to spend money on those types of things. We cannot use those readiness funds with bill money. We do have a pilot program going on with Duke right now, where they, it's a few agencies where we're allowed to spend health and safety dollars on that, to where they can go in and do some of those measures, depending on how much it costs. From that standpoint, that's what we try to do. If there's not, we'll try to get with the agency and see what other programs an agency may have that can assist those homeowners or renters as well, assist those in getting some of those repairs done.
Yeah, because that always be, you have a weatherization opportunity, but unfortunately you have other issues prevailing in the house that cause you an issue. And so I was just curious.
Yeah, and there's priority lists from the Department of Energy as far as, we've got way more people who would like their home weatherized. We kind of have to follow that laid out priority list based on at risk, those types of things as well. But it's one of those things that we've been we're keenly aware of, is how we get more homes. So what happens is somebody's interested in weatherization, an energy auditor will go out there and go through and say, okay, this is what need to be done. Can the home be weatherized? And then they'll go through the measures that would need to be done to the home if it can't be weatherized. One of the things we've really tried to figure out is, how do we get those homes out of deferral? Instead of saying, I can't do this, it's got to go over here. What are some of those things that we can do? So those are things we're constantly trying to, and it goes back to like that breaking of funds. So with this pilot program that, we're very much hoping that allows us, we have some great success with that, which would then allow us to, try to, work with Duke on more money, and then work with some other utility vendors to help with that.
Because I imagine you would probably see both, right? You'd see structural issues and weatherization issues a lot.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah, I mean, it may, like I said, it may be plumbing leaks, it may be electrical, and there's some things, like I said, depending on the cost of those repairs, we'd love to find an avenue to get more of those homes.
So there is a way of trying to connect other resources in order to work with us to help them, as opposed to saying, no, we can't do it because we can only focus on our weatherization.
Yeah, and like I said, trying to find the ways. And Sam is, they've got a HUD grant, it's, Healthy Homes, so we're working on, okay, how do we make sure that we're working with the network on that, to say, all right, here's these dollars that could be spent on the Healthy Homes part, but we're incorporating our network in there, so that once it's, it might become a good candidate then to be weatherized. So working within IHCDA and then working externally as well to try to find those avenues that would allow us to do that.
Yeah, because we're always looking to solve, in the end, we're looking to solve the issue.
Correct.
Because of rules and regulations, a certain money can only be used in certain ways. So then you're trying to figure out, what agencies or what departments need to work together, what monies can be utilized together to solve the problem. Because I would imagine, like I said, both of them happen at the same time.
Right.
And so it's, trying to navigate all the different rules and regulations to figure out the answer.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but it's one that at some point we have to figure out.
Right.
Because it's, we have to defer so many homes that we'd love to do their campaign, but the home itself is just not a good candidate, right? So.
Mark, to your question, you said something that's really cool. I've never heard it before. Grading of funds.
Sorry?
He said, he used some terminology and they're all looking to each other.
Yeah.
In a sense, that's what we are.
Yeah,
We're the
absolutely.
grader of funds.
Yeah.
I've never heard that term used before. And that's pretty important to answer your question, that we understand our purpose at this organization is to help grade those funds. And so that we can weatherize, we may have to do a roof or deal with a plumbing leak first.
Correct.
But I hear you say you're doing that with your partners.
We're trying, yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Grading of funds, that needs to be our new logo.
Well, it goes to the point of if you weatherize, but it doesn't really help anything, then it's like, all right, well, yes, it's a good, feel-good story, but in the end, you solve the problem.
Right.
So in the end, nothing really beneficial happened, but if we can't figure out other partners, other avenues to use, then you can weatherize a home and have the roof or whatever fixed. So now you've solved at least the issue that they had at that moment.
And Greg said something else. He's not gonna weatherize and make a mold issue worse.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think this grading is very important.
Yeah.
So cool term. I'm gonna use that. I
It's
like
not
that.
mine, so feel free. Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
All right, any other questions? You got all the questions today.
Well, I'm happy I was able to answer some of them.
Okay.
A month ago, I would have looked at.
90 million of new money.
All
That's a
right,
tough issue.
It really is.
I think we are ready for your resolution.
Okay, staff respectfully request the board approve the following resolution. Resolve, the board approve the plans being proposed for the real estate plan and any amendments made to these plans due to feedback received from DOE during its approval process as recommended by staff.
All right.
So moved since I read everything.
I will second. Since-
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Next up, we have, please welcome Emily Krauser, who will now present the CSBG Impact Awards renewal. Hi, Emily.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for having me today. I am gonna present the Community Service Block Grant 2023 Impact Grants Renewal. So you may remember about a year ago, the board approved $600,000 in impact grant awards to 6 agencies across Indiana, addressing specific outcomes for families with low incomes who have also been affected by COVID-19. That was approximately $100,000 per agency. We are right at the end of the term for those awards that went out. They were all evaluated by an external evaluator. You can see some of the early results on page 2 of the board memo that you've received. They were all really quite successful in the work that they did. We asked them to kind of do a big lift to expand or improve their practice to address the needs that were emerging as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. So as we head out of these relatively large, relatively short-term projects, what we'd like to do is provide kind of a soft landing for these organizations. It is hard to get $100,000 in 1 year that has to be used in a really strict timeline and then be dumped. And so we are trying to overcome that to help these organizations either sustainably and reliably kind of decrease the amount of services that they're offering, or to find ways to fiscally sustain those because they found that their community continues to need them. So as such, we are recommending $150,000, which is about a quarter of what we provided last year for the coming year to help those same 6 agencies in their sustainability planning. I'm happy to take any questions you have.
Any questions? I worked with some of these organizations in my prior role, and I think this is a really smart way to help them with so it's not just a complete ending of funding for some probably really important work that they were doing. So I think this is a great path to go down. So thank you for that. Okay, we're ready for your resolution then.
Great wording. All right, staff respectfully request that the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding 2022 CSBG funds in aggregate amount not to exceed $150,000 to the applicants as set forth in Table A to administer the impact grant award projects as recommended by staff.
All right. Thank you for the resolution. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Please welcome Rachel Sample, who will present the balance of care, continuum of care allocation and methodology.
Good morning, board. As you said, my name is Rachel Tinkle. I'm the Community Services Grants Manager here at IHCDA. And before I dive into these, I just kind of want to provide a brief overview on the Continuum of Care program, since all of my resolutions today have to do with that larger funding pool. So just to give a high-level overview, the Continuum of Care program is HUD's competitive funding process that's really focused on developing permanent housing and providing infrastructure funds to states and communities to develop a system-wide response to homelessness. And each year, HUD releases a Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, that defines the funding competition process for us and directs us on how we should be renewing projects that we'd like to continue receiving funding and how we can apply for new projects as well. This year, we actually have 2 NOFOs, so I'm here to talk about both of those today. And I kind of wanted to highlight a couple of things that you'll see reflected in the materials for both the Continuum of Care Supplemental NOFO and the Continuum of Care Renewal Program NOFO. Because of the capacity needs that the COC has and the COC board's capacity to address these quite large funding applications, they delegate the process of selecting renewal and new projects to what we call the Funding and Resource Committee for our regular annual NOFO, and then have created this year an ad hoc task force that has developed the policies and selection criteria for new projects for that supplemental NOFO. These groups are non-conflicted, and the criteria they use to select projects is really focused on a mix of objective and performance-based criteria, and all projects are reviewed, ranked, and that ranking is done based upon the ranking tools we use and our policies. So I'm going to first go into the regular, as we call it, COC NOFO, and the allocation and methodology there. So the first one here you'll see is the annual COC program NOFO, or allocation and methodology. This year, HUD released this notice in the beginning of August, and we had actually already conducted our renewal competition, as we like to call it, for our projects who are renewing their funding. That competition was finished up at June 22nd, 2022. And when we received that notice from HUD at the beginning of August, we recognized that we were being told by HUD that we could renew 95% of our renewal applications, and that the remaining 5% would be essentially up for competition. So their selection is contingent upon HUD approval. We then also opened up an opportunity for new project applications and asked that those applications be submitted by August 29th. And we'll go ahead now and work together at IHCDA and with our COC board to submit the collaborative application that will be due on September 30th. The new projects and renewal projects were all reviewed and selected for funding by our Funding and Resource Committee. And that selection happened on September 8th, and then they were approved by our COC board on September 15th. You'll see then in Table A, the applications received and the project totals that were selected. The Exhibit A explains kind of the COC board's role in selecting projects for funding. Exhibit B then lists out our detail of our projects, and then you'll see in Exhibit C the structure of our Continuum of Care regional regions, I guess, across the state. We expect that funding will be announced in the first quarter of 2023. So with 2 NOFOs, we can't quite tell how long it's going to take to review all of these applications. Finally, just a highlight here from the memo that we do use key performance indicators to assess and evaluate both our renewal and new projects. And those items really focus on adherence to housing first principles, their data quality and their capacity to collect data on things like exits to permanent housing and increasing household income and stability. And we're really pleased with the applications we received this year, and happy to take questions first about the regular COC program application.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll take your first resolution.
Sure, thank you. Staff respectfully request that the board pass the following resolution. Resolve that the board approve the use of the current methodology for scoring and ranking that was created by IHCDA staff and the Indiana Balanced State Continuum of Care Board of Directors for scoring and ranking for fiscal year 22 applicants set forth in Exhibit A attached here to as recommended by staff.
Question is it Exhibit A or Exhibit B? Am I looking at the wrong page?
It is, I think there was just a typo, so it should be Exhibit A for the.
Okay. Great, thank you, sorry. Okay, we have a resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
We count that as a second, or we need to get a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. We have motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you. My second resolution then, resolve that the board approve allocating balance of state COC grant funds in an aggregate amount not to exceed $22,770,386 for the fiscal year Continuum Care annual funding application for the organizations listed in Exhibit B as directed by head and recommended by staff.
All right, we have a resolution. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on then to our supplemental NOFO, or SNOFO as we've been. So first, I just want to highlight that we recognize that this is a little bit of a different process. Given the timing of this funding application and when the board will be meeting next, we are bringing forward the recommended funding prior to us having it approved by our Continuum of Care Board. But as I will explain as we go through this, that board has delegated authority for selecting projects to the committee that has selected the projects that we're reviewing with you today. In addition to releasing the Continuum of Care Program NOFO application, earlier this summer, HUD released the supplemental notice of funding opportunity for unsheltered and rural set aside. And this is something that we don't usually see from HUD. HUD releases one funding application a year for Continuum of Care. And this was an unexpected opportunity for the state to apply for new resources, which is really exciting. As a part of this being kind of an unexpected opportunity, things have been in kind of a little bit of an evolving situation since this is not something we usually see from HUD. And this funding was actually made available because of funds that have been returned over years to HUD, and HUD has been releasing them in this essentially one-time opportunity for 3-year grants that will then be eligible for renewal later on. So Indiana has obviously 91, 92 counties represented in our Balance of State Continuum of Care, and all of our counties were either eligible for the unsheltered set-aside or the rural set-aside funding opportunity, and HUD defined those categories based on population data and essentially, regional metropolitan areas. The Balance of State Board, again, recognizing that their capacity was limited, designated authority to an ad hoc task force that was then responsible for creating policies and the ranking of these projects for selection to be sent over to HUD. We got notification about this funding in June, and then released our funding application on August 12th. Applications were just due September 19th. We have until October 20th to then submit the full application to HUD, and we are working through completing those materials alongside these individual applications. Since the COC board delegated the supplemental task force to select projects, we have 6 projects for rural set-aside and 2 projects for the unsheltered set-aside application. You'll see then again in Exhibit A, the delegation of that authority, and then in Exhibit B, the listing of projects. And obviously, we've been frantically trying to get those in front of you so that you can see them here today, and we're very pleased with the project applications we received. The application process, similar to the traditional NOFO competition, did use key performance indicators for evaluating these new projects. In particular, looking at projects' capacity to spend funding, their experience with federal or HUD dollars, their focus on their capacity to decrease length of time individuals are experiencing homelessness, and their capacity to increase access to permanent housing and to increase household income. We also evaluated projects on their cost effectiveness by determining approximately the average cost per project and looking at that in comparison to our total average cost across all projects at that project type. And again, we're really pleased that we had pretty consistent project applicants in their scope and size, as well as their cost effectiveness. We're looking forward then, as a part of this application, to addressing regional disparities in homelessness, especially through our rural funding. And as a part of our application, we'll be submitting a plan to HUD of how we will continue to address disparities in homelessness across regions. I will take then any questions about the supplemental NOFA.
Snowfall. Any questions? All right, seeing none, we're ready for the first of your 3 resolutions?
Yes. Staff recommends that the board approve the use of the methodology that was created by IHCDA staff and the Balance of State COC Board of Directors, scoring the ranking of the fiscal year 2022 snowfall applicants as noted in Exhibit A.
All right, we have a resolution. Do you have a motion?
Move to approve the snowfall.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. We'll take the second resolution.
Staff recommends that the board approve allocating funds in the aggregate amount not to exceed $2,209,830 for the funding application, the supplemental notice of funding opportunity unsheltered set aside for the organizations listed in Exhibit B, and the final amount to be approved by the Indiana Valley State Board of Directors and HUD.
All right, we have a resolution. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. And finally,
Thank you. Staff recommends that the board approve allocating funds in the aggregate amount of not to exceed $8,691,947 for funding applications for the supplemental NOFO for rural set aside for the organizations listed in Exhibit B, and the final amount to be approved by the Indiana Balance of State Board and HUD.
all right, we have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next, please welcome Richard Harcourt, who will present the Bradford Lake Apartments Project Bond Recommendation.
Good morning, board, and it still is morning.
Excellent, good to hear. Thank you.
I have 3 bond recommendations, and they're all the same, right? So these are all projects that you can approve the LIHTC tax credits for, and now I'm asking for permission to be for IHCDA to be the issuer of the tax exempt debt that goes along with it. This is conduit financing. There's no recourse on our balance sheet. So all 3 are the same. So I will start with Bradford Lakes Apartments. You all approved this on June of 2022. It's 350 affordable units. It's a rehab, Indianapolis, Indiana. Glick is the developer, and we're requesting $25 million worth of approval to issue tax exempt indebtedness.
All right, we have a, is that the resolution or you're asking for good questions first?
I'll take questions first. Thank you.
Sorry, lost track. Any questions? Okay, we'll take your resolution.
Thank you. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve the Series 2022 multifamily housing revenue bonds, parentheses, Bradford Lake Apartments project, close parentheses, pursuant to the resolution attached hereto as Exhibit A as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Yeah, we're good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. Next.
Rich, real quick, is Glick now employee owned? Did they transition?
I think they are in East Soffit. Does anyone, I think they are. I think I heard that.
And then Bradford Lake's been around a long time.
I'll follow up with you on that, just to get clarity. I'd like to know that. Well, I don't know that. I'll follow up. The second one, board, is Village Premier Apartments. You liked this an hour ago. It still is in Fort Wayne. It still is 208 affordable units. This is new construction. House Investments is the developer, and we are requesting $25 million worth of authority to tax exempt authority to issue debt to this, not a recourse debt.
Any questions?
Move for approval.
No, thank you, though.
Well, we'll take your resolution.
Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve the Series 2022 multifamily housing revenue notes, parentheses, Village Premier Apartments project, close parentheses, pursuant to the resolution attached hereto as Exhibit A as recommended by staff.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion is approved. Next,
AFR Indiana project, board, you approved this in June of 22. This is 3 affordable rehabs, a total of 186 units, 54 in Arcadia, 61 in Fowler, and 71 in Rensselaer. We're requesting approval to issue $16,246,349 of non-recourse conduit tax exempt financing.
any questions? All right, we will take your resolution.
Thank you. Staff respectfully request the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve the Series 2022 multifamily housing revenue bonds, parentheses, AFR Indiana, LLC project, close parentheses, pursuant to the resolution attached hereto as Exhibit A as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. Thank you. Okay, I think we have the executive director update.
Well, I got 40-minute update, so.
So you're short.
We're excited for our conference this year. It's in partnership with the Indiana Affordable Housing Council. There are over 550 registered attendees for this year's conference, so it's really strong attendance. We have a lot of great panels and a lot of great speakers talking about housing across our state, and a lot of networking opportunities as well. Right after this, at 12 o'clock, we'll have the awards luncheon, which includes Lieutenant Governor and some awards that we will be given out to properties that are in our urban areas, our rural, special needs, senior properties, and a Resident of the Year award for the volunteer work that this individual has done. So, really excited. One of the other things that we've done, Brian's in the back of the room there, and Dylan have done a really nice job. The awards are actually handmade from a glass blower here in Indiana. And Brian and Dylan actually have done a nice little video of showing the awards and how they were made. So it gives, much more, these are real meaningful awards other than the fact of just, what they signify and the importance that these developments are having in their communities. So I'm just really proud of all the work that's gone in and everyone who's contributed to making this conference a success. So I hope you have a chance, if you can, to stick around for a few minutes and be a part of our awards luncheon. You're definitely invited to be here. So yeah.
Great.
That's my update.
Any questions for Jake? Okay. Is there any other business to come before the board?
Sure, I have two things.
Yes.
Maybe three. Two. One is the bond resolutions that Rich brought up. I'll be sending out by, they'll be signed this evening. So I appreciate a couple of these. They're wanting to get going next week. So I'll have those to you this afternoon. So if you could get those. And also I'll be sending to you the minutes for you and Dave to sign. And so if you could take care of that, I really appreciate it. And I want to announce that Carmen Files, our deputy chief counsel, is leaving us.
Uh-oh.
She's running away. She's in the back of the room. Carmen, and you're going to
Indiana Supreme Court.
Congratulations.
Our second to the Supreme Court. Our second to the Supreme Court.
to the Supreme Court. And so Carmen, we just want to thank you for all your years of dedication and service and work and work and work.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.
That's all, thank you.
Hearing no other business, this meeting is adjourned at 11:24. Thank you.
I'll second your job.